Thank you very much, Mr. Del Solar, for highlighting the case of Argentina, which is a very important case since, as you mentioned, Argentina is a very big food exporter. So thank you very much. We don't have a lot of time, but colleagues, I please encourage you to address questions to the panelists. Yes, please. I cannot read your name, I'm sorry. Present yourself. Thanks. Okay.
Okay, my name is Mickey Kjaris. I'm an ethicist from Denmark, and thank you for saying about all these initiatives around the world. I was just wanting to ask all the panelists if in any of your countries' organizations you have considered the food waste or perhaps food loss that comes from using human edible grain and other plant resources to feed to animals.
We can continue with the... Marcelo, please. Thank you.
I want to know if we have some estimation about the influence of climate change in the production and maybe in the loss, but in the production. For example, in the Pampa, in Argentina Pampa, we can observe some change in the production of food because the climate change, or in other countries, in Germany, for example. Thank you.
President von Braun.
I would like to ask Commissioner Andriukaitis to say a bit more about his big proposal of a food loss and waste summit. How do we get there? And would the European Commission be willing to be also financially supportive of this? And I have a question to State Secretary Fuchtel and Ben Falk about technology. Can we employ more technology, borrowing from efficient food waste and loss measurements? And can we share technology in that respect? Blockchain, IT, value chain tracing, and so on. And how would we go about that so that not every other country going beyond the 30 which we have on food losses and the 15 which we have on food waste data, so that the rest of the world can benefit from technology sharing?
Thank you. Mr. Torero, please.
Thank you very much. Only three small comments. One on the request or the question about disaggregated data by commodity, by country. The last report of FAO, the SOFA, has a platform where we are doing that by country, but that needs to be improved. But it's very important to understand by commodity where the hotspots are so that we can do interventions. That's crucial. And that's the effort that we're trying to do. So it's very important to align governments to start to collect the data in the private sector also, especially with the same definition. On the behavioral change, we decided to go through kids. So we have created a video to promote food loss reduction and waste reduction through kids, which is available. It will be in multiple languages. So if you can help us to share that with the schools, we hope that will be an impact. And finally, only one question and comment, the issue of rational and how people are rational in the way they produce and what they lost. We need to understand that we won't have zero losses. That's not optimal. There will be some levels of losses because there is rationality behind their choices. But if we don't align markets and we don't create the proper incentives, we are not going to succeed. So it's not just an issue of good intentions and messages, it's an issue of how we can work with governments and private sector to align incentives so that farmers can be rational, continue to be rational in their decision, and at the same time reduce the losses that they face.
Thank you very much. Other questions? Yeah, behind. Okay, please.
Yeah, I have a, is me? Okay, I have a technical question. Well, first of all, I'm from Brazil. I'm a physicist, no economist. And my technical question is, what is the loss quantity that is kind of affordable in food production. And of course, we're always going to have some, as the colleague just said. So what is the focus? We want to reduce to what? What will be tolerable in loss and in waste? What is the minimum you guys believe could be decent? Because as the first speaker said, it's a scandal. We are losing a lot. We are wasting a lot. But we can reduce to what? What is considered reasonable? Do you have that number? Are we too far from the number?
Thank you. Mr. Vanderbilt? Yes.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for allowing me a few words. I am the president of the European Food Bank Federation and also a board of I'm also on the board of directors of Global Food Banking Network. Food banking has been, and I would like to thank Commissioner Andriukaitis for the kind word that he said about what we do in the real world. Food banking has been around for more than 50 years. It addresses both food loss and food waste. Actually, it changes food waste into food surpluses. We don't like to feed food waste. We prefer to give food surpluses. Our operation goes from the food producer to the food retailing and also to the end consumers, because we work with a very important network of charitable organizations, more than 45,000 only in Europe. Food banks are a natural partner of each stakeholder of the food system. Food banks' activities contribute to the advancement of SDG 12.3 or 1.23 or 123, SDG 2, but also to many others as our common activities impact on all spheres of life.
If you don't mind, thank you very much.
Just a moment, I've nearly finished.
Okay, thank
you
very
much. And it's very important. We helped collectively 62.5 million people in 2018, and we recovered 2.68 million tons of food surpluses. Pope Francis compared us in the private audience quoted as introduction in your prospectus to the trees which absorb CO2 and produce O2, not keeping any for themselves, changing the vicious cycle of destruction into a virtuous cycle of solidarity. Food bankers want a world with zero hunger, zero waste, and zero emission. In the meantime,
Sir, I ask you to respect the intervention by the chair, and I address this also to other speakers. Respect the chair. Your question, please.
I've just finished. We will carry on working with your help, harder and smarter. Thank you.
Professor Opara, thanks.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Clementine, for the new insights you have given regarding the possibilities of food waste as a problem on the African continent. Some of us have been talking about this for the last 5 years. My question is to our Honorable Commissioner, Your Excellency, from the African Union, and also for other partners or colleagues who are interested on the problem of food loss and possibly waste on the African continent. Given the emergence of new insights about the possibility of high incidence of food wastage on the African continent, and I just want you to consider the context, that if you consider, just take only 15% of the nearly 1 billion people on Africa as middle class, who have the same behavior and make similar food choices like anywhere in Rome, New York, or Madrid. So if you just think about that population as a country or a continent, would you still continue to consider that Africa doesn't have a food waste problem? I think we may be far, far behind what is happening. Just like if you consider the report of 1978, which is considered a seminal report by the National Academy of Science in the United States, which reported the incidence of food losses. The issue of the problem of food waste in the Western world was not even talked about. It was considered a problem of the developing world. 30 years later, 20 years later, we now see the data that the financial cost of food wastage in the developed world is more than food waste in developing countries. So I think this is an issue that I think we should need to consider very seriously. So I would like some viewpoint from the Honorable Commissioner and other agencies interested in agricultural transformation in Africa. Would you now begin to consider food waste as part of the package of addressing agricultural transformation on the continent? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions. Since we are running a bit out of time, I would start with the answers from the speakers. So maybe if Mr. Andriukaitis from the Commission would like to start.
Thank you so much. Let me say that, yes, I think we have experience to organize global summit on vaccination, but together with WHO, together with our partners, and we delivered our part, and we financed also our part of those global summit. But now, I think it's a good time to raise this question, because while the new Commission can be ready to prepare their steps, and new Green Deal, absolutely for me is clear, it should include food waste and food losses into the topic, because it covers a big part of climate change and sustainable development goals. And I am ready to propose such my message to next Commission to assess situation, and of course invite partners, FAO, United Nations, different agencies, maybe also some foundations, maybe including some, Rockefeller Rubber Bank, to organize such global summit, because we need to, if we decide seriously, we need to, of course, to share our capacities and see what can we do. I am ready to pass a message to new Commission about that. I was speaking about levels, for which level is in the EU. Our obligation is to reduce food waste from 88 million tons till 44, till 2030, to halve our food waste, to halve. And we just proposed methodologies, and we will ask all member states to use this methodology to measure situation and to send to us targets till 2022, and we will see how can we, move forward, because we need to measure, because if you can measure, you can manage. Without measurement, you have no chance to manage. And we rely on data, on our scientists, and possibilities to collect information around all 28 member states. But our goal is to reduce till 2030 till 44 million tons per year. It's our obligation. Yeah, of course, it's now limit. It's big to go forward, to see what can we do. But first of all, we need to have targets which should be included in national action plans, and then to measure and to have benchmarks to measure it and to see where we are all together, because then it will be obligatory. From 2022 to 2024, it will be obligatory to have national targets and to see how can we manage situation, because main goal is to reduce, to halve food waste till 2030.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ungbo, would you like to add something?
Maybe two quick point coming back to the issue of the middle class in Africa. I don't think that there should be a big debate. We're talking about both waste and loss. Just by listening to you, what comes to my mind is the similar debate in climate mitigation and adaptation. But factually, statistically, you also know that the data are also very clear that the problem of food loss is more acute. And obviously in an ideal world where you have the financing to address both, I mean, it would be silly to any government not to address both. But governments sometimes have to make hard choices. And what I'm saying, even if you talk about 15% middle class, knowing that 2/3 of Africans are living in the rural area, knowing that most of them do not have the $1.90 a day, if you have to make choices, your choice will go towards where to fight inequalities, where to really, and this is the loss, this is the technology, this is the agribusiness, the transformation. So we are not saying that this one should exclude the other. It's a matter of choices, and it's not, let's also say that if you go to South Africa, the situation might be totally different than Togo or to Nigeria. Each country, the situation might be different. Let's also don't look at it from as just one country. The situation has to be vary from one to another. Then maybe, you know, I found very, very interesting the issue about what will be the minimum acceptable. Of course, Commissioner answered from EU perspective, but I'm sure globally our colleague from FAO certainly it will be something to keep in mind that you will need to have some kind of a consensus building to which I don't think that really exists formally today. We have to recognize that. But I really like the approach, the pragmatical approach from EU. Even if today you were to halve the challenge, at least is a starting point. Even if we were to halve the food waste and loss, already something that we will have achieved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would go now with the order of your speech. So Mrs. Ezekshvili or Obi, I'm very sorry if I speak it bad.
Well, I think that the gentleman who took quite a number of, touched on a number of the points that I had raised, shows clearly there's some action that's going on. But my last word today is really that there's a need for a fair sense of urgency. There really is need for a fair sense of urgency. You can't, you know, I heard the commissioner talk about a summit, but when you have such a summit, can you just tell the political leaders to stop summiting? And that, you know, what really needs to happen is that all the research evidence that's available, all the institutions and regulatory systems that need to function, and all the kinds of policies that need to be made, just need to be made. It is really indeed scandalous that we're in a world where we have this mismatch between poverty, hunger, and surplus. It just doesn't make any sense. And I think that, you know, I would ask the president of the academy to give very kind words to the Pope, and that it's true that he's leading on this moral journey. No, you are the, it's not, I'm not talking, Prof should tell him that he should, you know, lead, that he should really use everything possible to get the political action. These isolated, very little actions by various parties, no matter how high profile, is not sufficient. Political leadership is key. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fuchtel?
I was mainly asked about technological solutions. I think more than 30% of the problems can solve with technical solutions. There's a blockchain. You can look better to the future, and you can look what form of what products you need, where is the change, and that will help to make a better product chain. The second is digital transformation. Here there is one keyword, platform. Platform can do a lot. It can help with food banks, for example, that we do in Germany, But in Germany, that is only a little of the problem. Only 4% of the food is from the supermarket chains. So there's not too much place to make it better, but we now have 280,000 ton on food banks, and with a digital bank, we think we will come much higher. So it's for such things, it's a good thing. It's a very good thing for information, other people. Also for startups, that was not noticed here. For example, here was a question to give such food to the animals. But there is first to work with that products. For instance, carrot. We have an app. We have a new company who makes from carrots different soups. So for the people, it is a longer chain, not only the direct to the animals. That is, I think, will become more important in future. We see it in Germany. It is coming up with such startups and a lot of ideas. I think that is a very good way. And then we'll have a problem when the climate change, the products must change. And that we must combine with blockchain to see it in a view now to make the good decisions for the future. That I think is that question you give to me.
Thank you. Mrs. O'Connor?
So I'm just going to pick up on the question raised on the food waste data. The 2011 FAO study on global food loss and waste doesn't have a single data point for household food waste in Asia, Africa, or South America. So we have an assumption that it's not a problem there, but we have no idea. And so back to the countries that have collected this data, none of them are in developing countries. It's hard to raise funds to quantify food waste. I've been trying for many years. It's not an easy sell. So we've come up with another approach, which I'd like to draw to the attention of the EU and to other countries represented here. It is to create bilateral partnerships between countries that are already quantifying household and retail food waste and countries that are just beginning to do this. It can be a technical skill sharing collaboration. It doesn't have to have funds attached to it, and it is a way that countries that have experience in this field can help emerging and developing countries to get started here. So if this is of interest, I would be glad to talk to you a bit further about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Volk, would you like to add something?
Yeah, very quick question, answer or thought maybe about technical solutions. I'm certainly convinced that technical solutions will help us reduce food waste, as well as help us monitor and track and trace what's actually happening along the value chain. But it's only part of a solution. Value chain organization and farmer organization is really key. Market linkages is really, really key. It makes no sense really to reduce food loss if we can't get rid of it in a good way in the market. So market linkages, farm organizations help us distribute technology, especially among smallholder farmers, is really key. So anything we will do
will have to come with an effective technical assistance facility attached to it. That is on technology. On the question of our ambitions in terms of food loss reduction, allow me to stick to food loss for the moment. I think that the SOFA clarifies that the best guess or estimate we have of food loss globally is just under 14%. We have a 50% goal to reduce that, so we need to bring it down to 7%. Now, whether that's kind of technologically and business-wise feasible remains to be seen. I'll have no view on that as a banker. I guess I'm sure this has to become single digit at least. So thank you for the question.
Thank you. Mr. Del Solar?
Yes, the question was from Monsignor Sanchez Orondo about the impact of climate change in agriculture in Argentina. Of course, we're working in adaptation principally with better infrastructure, no-till technology, and other technologies like new breeding techniques, biotechnology that help us to reduce the impact of the climate change. And that's something that is helping us a lot. But we need to develop new technologies to enhance and try to be close to this problem of climate change. At the same time, we here on the floor, they were speaking about sharing information about how people do things better in other countries. Let me tell you, sharing information is not that easy. You need techniques to do that. In Argentina, farmers, we have many years working together, sharing information. We always say that the most guarded secret that Argentinian farmers have is that we don't have secrets between farmers. So that's the secret, no? But how to do that is not that easy. We have a lot of experience and we can help on that. Because if we don't share information between all the countries, it's going to be very difficult to solve this problem. So sharing is not easy, but sharing can be done.
Thank you very much, colleagues and speakers, for this session. It was very interesting and very inspiring. Have a good lunch. Thanks.